Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Allie Wilkins. I'm so happy that you're here and that you found this page. I am an intuitive, I'm a priestess. I teach about the ancient feminine and I do Akashic Records work and a lot of other things. Also, I'm so happy you're here if you're back again. If you're a regular watching this, thank you so much for supporting my channel and watching these videos and leaving your comments and liking it, all of the things. So today we're going to be talking about timeline shifts. The first thing I want to say is this is going to be valid and supportive for you no matter when you're watching this. I will talk a little bit about what's happening in this present moment, but really this will be valid anytime you feel drawn to it because we all have unique timeline shifts, and actually timeline shifts can happen at any moment. But right now there just happens to be a huge momentum gathering for a big collective shift. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. The first thing that I want to talk about is just what is a timeline? What does that even mean? This could be a few different things. The first can be a dimensional shift. So when we're moving from a third dimension to fourth to fifth to sixth, that sort of thing, these are big dimensional shifts. These are big shifts in our consciousness and the way that we are perceiving reality around us and actually in the reality that we live in, that we exist in. So if you're in the 3D reality, everything is going to be a lot more like grounded, but that also means that it can be a bit more dense, that it can be a bit more heavy, that there can be more suffering, that there can be more heaviness. And I always use this comparison because most people have experienced this and it's the easiest thing to relate it to. So when you're using cannabis, this takes you from the third dimension to the fourth dimension. Cannabis is a fourth dimensional tool. So it's really great for people who are, people who are in a lot of pain when we see this used medicinally. It literally what it's doing, because it's raising your dimensional frequency. You are feeling less pain. You're feeling less density and heavy in the body. You're moving up in consciousness a little. This is also why a lot of people are like, oh, I get so many great intuitive hits when I'm using cannabis. But if you're already operating at a higher frequency, when you're using cannabis, it might open up a little for you, but it's actually going to contract your field. So that's just an example. So you can see, the heaviness is dissipating and you're feeling a little bit lighter in spirit. So that's an example of moving from the third to fourth dimension. So these dimensional shifts are lightening you up. So when I work with people in the Akashic Records, we're going into the fifth dimension or higher in those spaces. So people often leave a session and they're like, I feel so like light and I just feel like I'm floating on the clouds and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, go ground yourself. But this is very high frequency in comparison with what we're usually moving through on a daily basis. So a timeline shift, you could be moving dimensionally through timeline shifts. But this can also just mean you're moving into a different outcome for your life. When we think about destiny, a lot of the time we think that there's one destiny for us, and there's not. We have several different destiny paths that are determined based on our choices. And there may be, and in some cases, for example, like Martin Luther King, my personal opinion is that he probably had a destiny path of becoming who he was. And maybe that was the only path, or maybe there was one other one where he wasn't assassinated or something. I don't know. But most of us are going to have more destiny pathways. And they might be hugely different, right? In one destiny path, you could be spending your life in prison. In another destiny path, you could be marrying the King of Wales or whatever his name is, right? So these destiny pathways could be very different, or they could just be slightly different. It's going to be different for each person. But what we're doing as we're moving through these timeline shifts is choosing from this now moment, we're choosing, where am I going to be down the line? And so if you think about like a couple hundred years ago, these conversations would have never been happening. Like I would be burned as a witch for sure if I was talking about this to random people, right? There was no intention. There was no thought of like, who do I want to become in my life? Because it was such a 3D, third dimensional existence that was basically based on survival, right? So now, even though we're still in the third dimension collectively, although we're moving into higher dimensions, you can see that there's already so much more possibility because we have the collective awareness of, we can set intentions. That's something that's a common thing for a lot of people, that they're very intentional, right? And that's becoming more and more and more normal. Everybody's heard the term, like, what's your intention? So when we are thinking about now, where am I wanting to go in life? We might have one thing that feels really good, but 5 years later, you're going to have a different thing. 10 years later, you're going to have a different thing. So we're always able to tune into different timelines of what's possible for us. But the fun part is when we think about things that are way beyond our scope of like believing, or it's something that our soul dreams of, but our mind, our programming is like, that's not possible. What you talking about? That's not a thing. You can't do that. This is when we get juicy, right? Because you could set the intention of like, oh, I just want to have the amount of money that I need to survive. And I want to have like a partner that's like, good enough. And I want to have like this sort of, but like, how can we take that, which is great. That's content. That's, average. That's good. And also, I just want to like caveat, put a little pin in that for a second. Like for someone else, this could totally be the dream. If you're like starving in the moment, that could be the dream. So maybe I should not say that that's average. Okay. But when we think about things that we don't actually really, they feel like a stretch to us. They feel like, whoa, this is really dreaming, Those are the things that are really shifting the timeline. And so you can think about this as kind of like a arrow. Okay. So like if your timeline could shift from here by 1 degree, or it could shift by 30 degrees. And so the larger shift you desire, the more you're going to have to change your programming, the more you're going to have to change your belief systems. And that takes work. That takes effort and intention. And my guides are like, actually, it's not work. You just let go of the old attachments. You just let go of the old beliefs. But my human is like, guides, you're yes and no, because when we're here on the earth plane, we are inundated with programming telling us that that's not possible, or telling us we're not good enough, or telling us blah, 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 whatever it is that counteracts what we desire. And so there is actual effort in choosing, what is the stimulus that I'm going to be intaking today? What am I going to consume today? What content, what media, who am I going to listen to? Who am I going to pay attention to? There has to be a strong reprogramming. And this is why I offer so much of the work that I do to help support that and create containers around that. So getting yourself into those containers, whether it's with me or someone else, or building that structure, with your friends, to have accountability and to really support you in creating that is really important, especially if you're going for the 30-degree shifts, right? So right now, what's happening collectively is so many of us have awakened, and so many of us are like over it. So many of us are over the experiences we've been having, or it could be that, or it could also just be that you have this dream on your heart. You have something really big that you're like, this is really what I desire. And it's quite different from what I'm experiencing now. And so there's so many of us that are feeling that way, that there's this collective momentum that's supporting that. And it's kind of like, if you were in a jungle and the first person going through this jungle is macheting away all these plants, the second person who goes through following the path they set, there would be less plants, but they would still have to like be carving the pathway, right? They would still have to be paying attention to where to turn and all that sort of thing. But the 1,000th person, all the plants have been carved out. There's probably a clear pathway. There might be some stuff they might trip over that they have to keep an eye out for, there might be snakes that cross the path, or like a occasional jaguar roar, but there's gonna be a more clear pathway drawn. And this is what's happening collectively, that the pathway is wide, because so many of us now have been doing this for a long time, where we've been tuning into these different timelines. And so the pathway is clear of how we actually do it. Like, there's a million pieces of information about this. People usually just aren't holding it long term, right? You get inspired, you watch a manifesting video, and then you drop it a week later because the programming gets in you again, or you get discouraged and listen to the programming. And so I pulled some cards on this that I just want to draw. And this is valid whenever. This is always going to be accurate, right? This isn't necessarily just for now, which is September 25th. And by the way, before I go into these cards, if you want support moving into this next timeline of yours, I'm doing a really affordable group activation this Saturday. And if it's called Entering a New Timeline. We're going to be working with Goddess Lakshmi and Golden Tara. Golden Tara is one of the faces of Green Tara, who's really about liberation and non-suffering. But Golden Tara has a different texture to her. She's really about financial gain, good luck, opportunities, things like a road opener sort of energy to whatever it is you're desiring. So we're going to be working with both of them. I'm going to be leading us in an Akashic activation, and also just channeling some different information to help you really get clear on what is the next timeline. What are the, plants that I'm macheting away to clear that pathway in this specific new thing for me. So it's going to be a really supportive container for you. It's $18, super inexpensive. You're going to get a replay so you can keep it later and watch it another time if you'd like. And when you sign up, you can also bring a friend for free. So I'll put the link down in the comments if you want to join us. I'd love to see you there. And you'll be able to get the replay too. If you're watching this in like 2 months or 6 years or something, you can still access that session if you would like to join us at a later date. So, okay, let's take a look at these cards for a minute, just to give us some support in moving in the direction of our new timeline. Okay, so these two cards are really interesting because these have the exact same background. So this is a mirror effect, and then look at the numbers. This is 41, this is 14. So literally a mirror effect. So what that means, what I'm getting from these cards is, when you're looking in the mirror, and I want you to think about a funhouse mirror. So, when you go into one of those mirrors and you look 2 feet tall, or you look 100 feet tall in the reflection, it's not giving you actually the real reflection. It's an inverted mirror. What are they called? Like convex, or I'm forgetting school stuff. Anywho, so when we're looking at these mirrors, when we listen to the soul, and the soul is like, hey, this is what I really desire, or our heart's deepest desires, like, this is what truly excites me in this moment. And we're looking in this inverted mirror, or this concave mirror, whatever it's called. That is our programming reflecting back to us. So when you say, like, you know what, I just really desire to be an artist, and I really don't want to spend my time at this job. I really want to spend my time creating art pieces for people and selling them on Etsy. That's what I really desire. And the mind is like, who are you to do that? You're bad with tech. Why do you think people want your art? Your art sucks. That's what your mind or your programming is telling you, right? That's the inaccurate mirror reflection. And so we have to look at, is the mirror that we are reflecting our souls, our heart's desires to, is that an accurate reflection? Because in most cases, it's going to be a no. Our heart and our soul direct us so clearly. They direct us exactly on the path that is of our highest excitement. The mind is what gets in the way. The mind can be helpful and supportive, but when it's been so programmed, it can't be trusted a lot of the time. We have to make sure that it's operating with the right belief systems. And this is where the effort comes in. So in this specific example, if you're an artist and you want to have an Etsy shop and you're like, I just want to be able to share my art. what are the belief systems that you would require? What are the ways of thinking? What are the actions that you would require from that state to be able to sell your art online? We want to shift the mirror. So thinking about like, if the mirror is inverted, or if it's like, there's some weird tint on it, how is it that you can peel off? Let's say that it's a peelable thing. You're peeling off the thing that makes you look like a different size you are, to give you an accurate mirror reflection. What are those belief systems? What are those ways of thinking? Then how do we hold that? That's the most important thing. How do we hold it? Because a lot of times we're all good at getting motivated. We can all get inspired when we go to an event, or we see somebody speak, or we watch a video, or whatever it is. But how do you hold it? This is why people have so much bigger transformations when they're putting themselves in containers, whether it's, an $18 group container, or much more efficient, a long-term container, especially when there is direct, when there's like one-on-one work, or you're accountable for something. This is why, like, when I work with people in a one-on-one capacity, it is so incredibly powerful, because they have to show up every week, and I am holding them accountable to what they said. I am then reflecting back to them, what you just said is total bullshit. What you just said is complete programming. That's actually not true. So let's eradicate that and bring in something that is true, that can support you in what you're desiring. And there's no place for that stuff to hide when you're working with somebody one-on-one. So I also do that work. If you are interested in that, you can go to aliwilkins.com/mentorship, see all the different ways that I do that. I also do one-off sessions, and the Akashic Records, channeling, Oracle, intuitive, all the different things. Okay, so let's look at these different cards here. Oh, this is really beautiful. Okay, so we've got the Nourish card here. But what I'm hearing with this is like, what is it that you're nourishing? What is it that we are giving our attention and it's the feeling of like, what is it that you're loyal to? Are you loyal to the belief systems and the ways of programming that the government gave you, or, that the church gave you, or that your toxic parent gave you, or that your ex-boyfriend gave you? Like, or are you loyal to your soul? Well, if my soul desires this, then it must mean that it's possible for me. Then it must mean that it's a potentiality. Because if the seed is already in my heart, that means it's actually already born, and it is actually for me. That means that it's actually been implanted there specifically for me. Okay, so what are all the ways of programming that I need to remove in order for me to believe that? This is all that timeline shifting really is. We are literally simply just choosing a different outcome and shape-shifting ourselves to be someone who operates in the way that would create that. There's a lot of different things I could say here, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, they want me to go back to this card. So what is it that you're nourishing? Ooh, this is really yummy. Okay, so are you nourishing your victorious outcome? Or are you nourishing your failure? Let that one land. What is it that you are nourishing? What is it? People say sometimes, like, what is it that you're watering? Are you watering your success? Are you watering your self-doubt? What is it that you're watering? And when you catch yourself doing it, like, oh, wait, that's the wrong, that's actually not the right fertilizer I wanted to use. That's actually not the right ingredient I wanted to use. Actually, never mind, let's shift that. So I'm just like, okay, so this card is just pointing out at me. Oh, of course, this is what the card is. So this is a little goddess deck, and this is called the Eagle Woman. And look at how I'm not going to read this card, because I feel like what is important here is she's just moving towards she's moving on the horizon. She's moving towards the next thing. And the thing is, we think that like this is important, okay? This is really important. We are taught to think that our individual desires are selfish. But the thing is, each time that someone accomplishes their heart's desire, they're making a pathway for that to be known. And so I always think about this with like the people who are writing books about, the archangels, or about, like things that are normal now, but were woo-woo 10 years ago. People who were writing about, the law of attraction or manifesting in like 1910, when that was not anywhere near the norm of what people were talking about. Like, those people carved the pathway for me to be doing this video here, for me to be able to buy oracle cards so easily, right? And so when your highest heart desire happens, you are carving a pathway for that to be normal, for it to be normal that people don't just like, oh, I'm going to go to school and get straight A's, and then I'm going to go to college, and then I'm going to build a white picket fence after I get a job and have kids. Like, that is the normal, because so many people have carved that pathway. But when we all follow our hearts, then that pathway becomes so much wider. Then that becomes the norm. What type of world do we live in when people are following their heart's desires? People are more loving, people are more abundant, people are more joyful, people are more fulfilled. That's probably the biggest one. Of anything, people are going to be more fulfilled. And a fulfilled person is a person who treats people way better. A fulfilled person is operating at a higher frequency than someone who's miserable. They're going to be giving back so much more to the world, even if it's just through their energy, just through their beingness. So remove the idea completely that you following your soul's desire is selfish. This is giving so much to the world. This is nourishing the new earth we're asking for. So take action on it. Take action on it. Believe that it's true with every fiber of your body, that what you desire is possible and that it's inevitable. And that the universe or God or source or whoever it is that you believe in is going to make that happen in the most beautiful, phenomenal, amazing way. And you're going to meet it halfway, because you're the one who has to inform the quantum field of what you desire. And the quantum field will create it. This is literally science. This has been studied, and I'm not like a science person, so I would like to retract that statement, because science is always disproving itself. So what I would like to say is this is a studied phenomenon, that they keep finding more and more and more and more information proving this at this point in time. And in your own life, you've experienced it. Whatever we are nurturing grows. So nurture the idea of you that has everything you desire. Nurture the idea of you that is embodying the version of the person that has your heart's deepest desires, that is living that lifestyle now. And as you do that, you are allowing it to be easier for every single person around you to do so. Okay, are there any other messages that want to come through here? I'm just hearing we're creating new potentialities collectively. You guys watching this, everybody watching this video, this is actually just the message for you. You are creating new potentialities. So you committing yourself to the work of believing in yourself, of believing that what you desire is possible, of staying on the pathway of your heart and your soul. Keep doing the work. And I want you to like look in my eyes as I say this to you. I understand. I see how difficult it is. I understand that sometimes we are outcast for this, or we are, called weird, or we're the black sheep or the rainbow sheep or whatever it might be. And that it can be so difficult with the amount of programming around us to hold it. But what if that was your actual job? What if that was what your soul mission was? What if that's what your purpose was? To hold it so strongly that you allow other people around you to then hold it easier. Does that make sense? Do you guys get what I'm saying with that? So what if that was your role? To be the type of person who holds what they desire so inevitable that they do not allow other ideas to come in. They don't allow fear to come in and mess it up. They don't allow programming to shift their way of thinking or to discourage them. And of course, it's okay if that happens temporarily or if it happens for a moment, but you bounce back. You get back on the horse and you continue believing and going towards the path that you desire, right? And the example that I was given earlier before filming this is, it's the timeline shift is a light switch. It's not necessarily one moment. Sometimes it can start in one moment of decision of like, I'm fed up with this. I'm done with this. I am choosing to move forward and I will not accept anything else. It can happen like that sometimes, but it's really a matter of keeping the light on. And so we keep the light on when we hold the energy of this is inevitable, when we hold the energy of the thoughts and beliefs and ways of being that the person who has what we desire naturally embodies. When we listen to the fear and doubt, we turn the light off. So if the light is off for 6 months, you're probably going to feel irritable. You're probably going to feel depressed. You're going to feel lethargic. You're not going to feel excited, right? When the light's on, we're like, I'm so inspired. I have so much creativity. And there might be some moments of like lull, or you might like, hover the light between, like maybe it's a dimmer light or something. And how do we keep it at the top? Not saying that we avoid the darkness or that we avoid our shadow. None of that stuff. I don't do that shit as the priestess. I teach us to move cyclically. But how do we hold the energy, even if we're sad, even if we're upset, even if we're scared? How do we hold the energy of this is inevitable for me? Everything I desire comes to fruition. It's just a matter of time, right? Keeping the light on is how that timeline shift continuously moves, because at any point, like, I want you to imagine, okay, you are on the pathway of creating what you desire, right? And then you get discouraged and you go off a little bit. And then the initial landing point was here if the light stayed on, but you're now heading here because doubt shifted your trajectory a little. But you can always get back on. Oh, now I'm in line for this again. Now I'm off now, right? So we just have to get back on the horse. We just have to choose again and again and again and again. And I used to coach people around starting their own business. And I still do this, but this used to be my like specialty, helping people leave their job and start their own business. And what I would always say is, when it gets hard, quit for the day. You can quit for the week even, but do not quit longer than that. Get back on the horse the next day. You can quit for the night. I quit for the night all the time. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just, and it's like, nope, actually, I'm going to stay on this path. So quit for the day if you need to, quit for the night, but keep the light on as long as you possibly can. Okay. So this is just a little pep talk for moving into this new timeline. But like I said, Saturday, I'm doing a workshop. It's only $18. This is a really great way, if you're curious about any of my work, to just bring yourself into this space. We're going to be doing some journaling. We're going to be doing some visualizing and activations together. So this is going to be a really potent shift cellularly and energetically, and also logically and mentally, as we do some of the more emotional work. There's a lot of stuff we're going to be doing, and we're going to be working with Lakshmi and Golden Tara here too. So if you would like to come, I'd love to see you there live. There will be a replay too if you can't attend it live, Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and that's Saturday the 30th. And if you're not able to join us live, or you're watching this at a later date, like I said, you can always get the replay. It will be available forever. So yeah, I hope to see you guys there. And if you enjoyed this, if you got value out of it, I'd love to hear a takeaway in the comments if you want to leave a comment. But at minimum, please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys on Saturday. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your week, and always choose your soul. All right, bye guys.